Before anybody knew Dragon Ball Super was going to be a thing, I was watching Dragon Ball in the early 2000s, and as far as I was concerned, I didn't even know a manga existed during that time period. So anything that happened in animation, as far as I'm concerned, was canon. The original manga didn't have much Bardock stuff before the Dragon Ball Super stuff, so they had a Dragon Ball special. Bardock, that version of him, is what I want to talk about today when it comes to his strength. See, the entire point of anime is to translate what the artist originally visioned from the manga onto actual animation. That's the whole point of it. But here's the thing, there's times where the anime adds extra stuff that wasn't necessarily in the manga, and because of this thing, people make it a point to make this kind of stuff simpler, separating these continuities, even though it technically should be the same thing. People separate them to make it less confusing. Manga version, anime version. The anime version has more stuff and extra stuff that the animators add in there. That's the interpretation I want to talk about today, until it got retconned by Dragon Ball Super events, of course. And the Dragon Ball Broly movie, they kind of retconned all that Bardock stuff too. But some of that stuff is still intact. Let's get into it. Here's a visual if you're having issues telling which one is which. Dragon Ball Super version, original version that we had before Dragon Ball Super was even a thing, back in the early 2000s. The armor is like drastically different. This is pretty much how I tell the difference. And the bandana's cold. This Bardock can do anything the manga Bardock can do because it's technically him, but with extra stuff. So the stuff about him being able to transform into a giant great ape, his armor that stretches to fit him while he's transformed. What doesn't kill a Saiyan literally makes him stronger. They get stronger from near-death experiences from the last time they had a battle. I mean, part of the reason why Saiyans or Bardock in particular could be strong is because the planet they're raised on literally has 10 times the gravity of Earth that we're used to. This is a little example of his fighting skills. Look at this hold he got this being in, for example. Even shows battle IQ and all this smoke. He pretty much tricks them to blast their own person to help conserve energy while they're hurting themselves. Another example of his battle IQ is how he made this guy hurt himself, his teammate. Bardock is also a trained warrior. That's a being that knows how to use ki control. That's why he can shoot energy blasts. He has his own plethora of abilities with this ki type stuff. So the added benefit of analyzing an anime version of the character is the fact that I still get to use manga stuff because this anime version has all the manga material in it. What the main difference about this Bardock being is that this Bardock actually got psychic powers to where he can kind of see flashes into the future. That's an added thing that wasn't necessarily in the manga. The anime version benefits from this type of stuff.
You have come here seeking psychic power. Well, I have given it to you, Bardock.
He reads minds.
You can too now.
What are you talking about?
But I have given it to you as a gift, Bardock, so that you could see.
See what?
See the horror of your end, just like we had to.
Resistance and weight training to increase a character's ki or blast power with their ki. Chi is a big thing in this universe. That's why you see a lot of characters working out their muscles in the universe. It actually helps their inner life force, their ki inside, produce more power and stuff, vice versa. Also increasing their speed. Bardock technically had his own Saiyan crew. So if we assume that he's 137 pounds on a planet like Earth, and then we assume the planet he's always chilling on and can easily move around on is 10 times the gravity, that would mean he would have to move around weighing 1,300 pounds, and he can just freely move around like this. Even when he's battle damaged, he can freely move around this planet that's 10 times of Earth, like nothing really. You're probably wondering why is this relevant? Well, I just want you to think about this for a second. Resistance training and weight training is a good way to gauge a character's power level. Just for food for thought, there was a point in the series where Goku was struggling to stand up on a planet with 10 times gravity. That can let you know, at least up to this point in the series, this in particular, Bardock was, one could argue, above Goku right here when we're talking about power levels, because Goku was raised on a planet like Earth that didn't have 10 times gravity, while Bardock was just chilling. He always been on planet Vegeta his whole life, basically. And if we assume with muscle that Bardock can do anything Goku during this time period can do, you got to remember back in earlier arcs, Bardock was actually above him during his time frame. And this is still impressive because Goku, even back then, in his weaker days, Teen Goku, this is the same Goku that can barely stand up in 10 times gravity, guys, while Bardock can easily do it. Back in these days, Goku could still lift up a giant Piccolo. Yes, this did happen in anime too, so this does apply. Yep, so yeah, back in these days, Goku still could lift up hundreds of tons or even 200s of tons, which also means Bardock could do this too, based on the power levels during this time period. I mean, Bardock got to the point where they was comparing him to King Vegeta and stuff, y'all. Oh, I'm not just talking. A power level close to 10,000. It's pretty straightforward. If beings this weak can lift hundreds of tons, Bardock should be able to do that as well. He's higher. Talking about his powers reaching King Vegeta levels and crap, implying he can at least lift 200 plus tons, or at least bare minimally 100 tons, even without even transforming into a giant ape form, which would technically make these feats worse and more impressive. Yeah, he can lift up several tanks with his muscle. I mean, as a great ape, he should be able to lift more. I mean, If you want to be exact, it's a times 10 multiplier. If he could already lift 200 tons in his base form, multiply that by 10, that would be grade 8 form, bare minimally can lift 2,000 tons. Like, imagine his punches will be like this or worse. You see what I mean? He's massive too. He could just lay on you, probably produce hundreds of tons of force. I mean, if we really want to go by power levels, you know, Bardock's son, look at the power level difference between him and somebody like General Tao. I'm pretty sure if Bardock and General Tao, based on this low behind power level, if they was to get in the arm wrestling contest, I'm pretty sure Bardock would win. General Tao is somebody that Kid Goku can beat up. If characters this week can lift up pillars like this and throw it thousands of miles, how much do you think somebody like Bardock can lift who has a power level way higher? You see what I mean? But yeah, even in his base form, there's weight behind his hits. I mean, he got all this muscle. Of course he got this, right? Along with incredible blast power. Solo and Frieza Force beings, he can incinerate beings into ashes with his blast. Well, thanks to the events of the Father of Goku movie, we get to see some type of visuals on their blast power when they're like in their grade 8 state. We can see them blasting up the planet, stomping on stuff, destroying buildings. It's seriously hard to imagine a Dragon Ball Saiyan not being able to blow away buildings. Grade 8 form or just base. You can literally see Bardock here, for example. You can tell by the armor he's wearing, punching down buildings. That stuff is light. Based on the way this is animated when it comes to blast power, this particular scene looks like on some multi-continental size type of an explosion on this planet, for example. Do I really have to convince you that Dragon Ball characters can level a continent? Goku's father can, you know, as a grade 8, you know. Let's get to the topic of power levels right quick to get an understanding of Bardock right fast. There's actually beings in the animation continuity that say that they can annihilate the entire planet in a heartbeat, for example. And this same guy has a ridiculously low power level of 200. Like, what? I know this is just a statement, but Dragon Ball makes it a habit to destroy planetoids. I'm not going to compare him to Vegeta at this point, but I think it's fair to assume that King Vegeta is above, like, elite Saiyans like Nappa, beings way back here claim they can destroy the Earth. Then we've seen beings with power levels low like this, like Piccolo, with their energy blast, incinerate the moon. What do you think somebody that has energy blast higher than somebody with a power level like this could do? This is implied with Bardock, having a power level almost like King Vegeta. Oh yeah, keep in mind this statement about Bardock was when he was in the tank healing, so they're not talking about his grade 8 form. So just like beings that have a lower level power level of 4,000, 1,500, 3,500, like all these people like this, Bardock should easily have the raw hitting power to break apart moon-sized structures, or just simply blast them apart with his blast power or concentrated ki blast. Don't forget that King Vegeta can do stuff like this when it comes to his blast. Literally, more than one planet gets blown up from the... Yeah, that's crazy. And they said Bardock's power was getting close to 10,000. King Vegeta, which would imply Bardock with his blast could delete 3 planetoids near each other. Depending on how you want to look at this, based on that blast radius, like we know the Earth is a certain size compared to certain size stars, even compared to Jupiter. Like you can even argue certain size stars, higher end Saiyan tiers like Bardock being near the power of King Vegeta can blow away certain size stars. Based on the information of the Father of Goku movie, do you think Goku's father during this peak time could shatter the sun with his blast in his base form? Do you think he could do it in his grade 8 form when his power is multiplied literally times 10? I mean, think about it. Let's talk about power levels. If his power level was 10,000 in his base form, with his grade 8 form, it would be 100,000. That would mean pretty much almost everybody in the Namek saga he would literally surpass, except for Frieza, of course, and possibly Captain Ginyu at his max. In his base state, he's not quite up there with Vegeta, and Vegeta's, like back in the day, was only 18,000, but eventually he got to the point where he could actually take on Datara. But when we seen Bardock try to take on Datara, there's implications. He's outclassed, for example. But keep in mind, he can definitely surpass Datara if he uses his grade 8 transformation with a full moon or something. The only bad part about the full moon thing is very circumstantial. So circumstantial transformation power up. It's crazy to think about that if these Saiyans actually transformed and jumped to Datara, they could have actually won. Seriously, these Saiyans really got to start using these transformations more, or at least find a way to transform without relying on the moon or something. Some of these Saiyans could literally surpass the entire Ginyu Force for the most part. When it comes to their fighting speed, they're all amazingly fast. Bardock is no exception to this. Like they're always using this thing known as energy. Of course, I've talked about a lot throughout this video. These beams can travel really fast, and we've seen characters deflect, dodge these kind of beams on a consistent basis. But even if we go off the lower tiers in speed, even beings back in the day, like earlier days Piccolo, even a weaker Piccolo than this version, by the way, a weaker days for, even if we assume this took half a second or a whole second, this is dang near close to light speed, fast beams. This is a lower end type of character. Bardock easily should have surpassed at this point. I feel like I'm underselling him even saying this. I feel like he's way faster than this, but bare minimally, I would say he's at least has light speed, combat speed. Based on how this show works, you can see occasions like this, and the speed he moves faster than the eye can see, and avoids this blast, for example. Frieza was literally sprinkling out soldiers out of his ship. This not only shows his raw power, but it's also fighting speed. To just charge head first and avoids all of this, dodging attacks, blast, countering, even when they dogpile him, he just blasts all of them all. Like, he's literally bulldozing through them. Like, this literally reminds me of Juggernaut from Marvel Comics. No telling how strong each of these henchmen are. Whatever their power is, he just omnidirectional blasted them all for him. He definitely got his limits, because when it comes to fighting Frieza, even in his weakest state, he's not ready for him. But what do you guys think? Do you guys respect Bardock? The one that was here before Dragon Ball Super retcon stuff? Do you respect that, Bardock? Regardless of how you want to look at it, Bardock's pretty powerful. He can shake the Earth to its very core, destroy Earth-sized planets, even planets that make Earth look pathetically small in comparison, like Jupiter, he can blast away, and even smaller stars, one could say. And then Uzaru form makes it even worse. What do you guys think? Bardock himself believes you should energy blast that like button for me real fast. It would really help out a lot. And thanks for the donations, everybody. It really helps out a lot. Bardock, father of Goku. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.